And it's Kirei here for Hey Little Magpie with a brand new layout using the really lovely Pinkfresh Studio Lovely Lane collection designed by Paige Evans. Now, I've pulled out 3 of the pattern papers. I loved this one here. It's so pretty. Now, this collection is quite heavily, it's quite sort of purples, mauves, lilacs, which I know isn't everyone's taste, but it's really, really pretty. And I had a bit of an idea that I wanted to really use this floral paper as a background. So I'm just trimming off some strips. They're 1.5 inches wide by 10, and I'm going to create a background with these. And I've got this time because it's so patterned, I've gone for larger photos and just a couple. So I've got 2 square photos, 3 3/4 inch square. So distress the edges of all of them. Here's my photos, and my idea is just to have a background of stripes on with those pattern papers. I'm mounting the 2 photos on this deep purple pattern paper. It is called Happy Together, and I thought that works well because it allows the photos to stand out from that busy background. So that works for me. And then because I'm using a pattern paper background and it is quite busy, I didn't actually really need to do too much from an embellishment perspective. Anyway, let's sort of walk through where I got to. So then I decided I thought the stripes on the background were there were too few of them, and you can see I've added 2 more here. And then I just wanted to have something in the background just to sort of bring those stripes together. So I pulled in here. This is one of the Hey Little Magpie exclusive A5 stencils, and it's called Geometric 1. And I'm just using Distress Oxide in Seedless Preserves. So this sort of pretty purpley colour here. And I'm just sort of doing it randomly across the background just to have it peeping out a little bit here and there between the paper strips. And then I just added some splatters. They've now dried, so I can now get my strips on. Now I started to struggle at this point with the background because it is so busy, and it did cover up quite a lot of the stenciling, which is sort of fine because I don't tend to go heavy on stenciling. I like to have it as just a little bit of it just sort of peeping through as a little bit of additional detail, but it wasn't really covered, and you do see the stenciling in between each of the strips. But yeah, this part here, I really found this became a bit more difficult. Actually, I did really play around with this afterwards, because I wasn't sure which way I was going to go with it, but I just love the pattern paper so much I really wanted to make a feature of it. Now what you'll see there, I then actually stitched around each of the strips just with white thread on the sewing machine, again just to add some extra detail. That then made it, that really committed me then to this background because I stitched them to the white card. So yeah. Anyway, I've got my 2 photos. I've created a little tag there because I knew that I'd struggle with where I was going to add my journaling. So I thought I can add the journaling to the tag, and that can just sit behind my photos. So that works fine. It's particularly good if you have got a layout with either lots of photos and there's quite a lot going on, and you're struggling to find a space for journaling. Then actually just a little tag behind photos works well. So I've got some foam pads just down the sides because obviously I want to be able to sit my tag behind there. And then the bottom photo is going to sit flat because the top one I wanted to sit over it and cover up some of the sort of space above the heads on the photo. So bringing in my trusty T-square to make sure that they are nice and straight, of course. So they're on. And then I brought in the beautiful, it's really lovely, the floral ephemera. And I love flowers. I feel like you can add flowers to anything. Really, they just work really, really well. So I've picked out a couple of the larger floral clusters. And it's actually quite handy because there was a few things on the table in the photos that I was like, it would be good to quite hide them. I mean, we had there was some snacks there and things like that. I should say, I was away for the weekend at my friend Snow's, and we were scrapbooking for the weekend. So there was the 5 of us. But yeah, we had snacks and stuff on the table, and I thought I need to hide those. So the flowers worked really well to do that. So yeah, then I've got a couple of bits and pieces. I've pulled out the some of the Hey Little Magpie embellishment kits, and I just go back to those time and time again and just look to see what I've got that I can use on a layer. And there was these bright sort of purpley pink metallic stars, padded little stars, and I thought they'll be perfect to add just a little pop of sparkle. So I've got those two in under one each on each of the clusters. And then I've got the alpha here, which I really love a good alpha. And they're not doing as many, I feel like, these days. So I just had to have this alpha. And the colours are all lovely. But of course, as you can see, it's quite hard to see it over the floral background. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? This isn't working for me. So I think this is a good way to show that, sometimes things don't always work out the way you maybe started to, intended them to, and just how you can, try and make it, work for you. Okay, I brought some sequins in. These are also from one of the Hey Little Magpie embellishment kits, and I'm just adding some of the green because that works really well with the pattern papers. So I'm just adding those into each of the clusters. Again, you can always have a little bit of sparkle, can't you, on a layout? So, yep. So we'll get those stuck down. And then you'll see, I think, what I start to try and do with my title, because I wasn't happy with how that looked against the busy background. I think in hindsight, I wished I'd changed my strips and maybe had them going a bit diagonal and getting shorter and shorter, so I had some white space, or had less strips on that side, or something. Okay, so here we go. I've tried to resolve it. So I've now mounted the letters, and I've just gone for one colour on one of the other pattern papers in the collection. It was the sort of tealy blue. It's called Be Here Now. And then I've gone with Weekend below it. Now, this still isn't popping for me, and I was still struggling with it, but I sort of soldiered on and kept going, thinking, right, okay, I'm not sure what else I can do. Then I've got the enamel shapes, and I'm just adding some of the purple hearts into and around the little clusters. So, yeah, so then I'm pretty much finished. I'll add my journaling to the tag that's sat behind the photo, so that's all good. But I do correct this title. I have a bit of another go off camera. And it was funny, I had seen someone's layout, just something recently. So what I did here is I actually just pulled the crafty off, and I just dry brush some white paint down onto the background to take away some of the colour. And I think that worked well for me. So yeah, we got there in the end. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you again soon in my next video. Bye for now.